Hello and welcome back. Welcome back to another video tutorial of Introduction to Unity Games Development. In this tutorial, we will learn how to enable, disable components using script, how to add lights and what are the different types of lights available in Unity, how to activate, deactivate game objects using hierarchy and the scripts both ways, and what happens when you are interested or when you want to activate and deactivate a particular game object with the parent-child relationships, and what kind of issues we can face. So these are the topics which we are going to cover in this tutorial session. Let's head back to Unity. So we will start from where we left off in our previous video session. So as you can see, this cube game object is not visible in my game window. Let me just move it down so that I can see it. I'm going to use this cube game object and I'm going to insert a light component, or I'm going to attach a light component to this cube object. So select this cube, make sure the cube is selected. Now head back to the inspector window here. Here is this inspector window, and make sure in the hierarchy view again the cube is selected. In the inspector window, just click on add component, and this time we are going to add a light component. So click on add component and search for light component over here. That's the light component available. Just click on this and you will see the light components gets attached to this cube. Now we have different types of lights. If you see, we have a spotlight, direction light, point light and area light. By default, the point light is selected. If you are interested to know what are these different lights, I would refer you to the Unity official documentation website, where you can understand these different types of lights. Here comes the point light. The point light, if you see, it points out towards a particular area, or it emits to a particular direction. It can, you can say, behave like a lamp. You can see the output of this point light. So the spotlight works like a cone, if you see, and it emits the light in a cone shape actually. And if I go down further, the directional lights behaves like a sun, and the light will be emitted in you can say one direction, but it is placed far from the scene actually. So it behaves like a sunlight. Similarly, if you see the area light will be emitted through a rectangle in a space, and it will emit the light in all the directions uniformly. Now if you see, this area light is very useful to display, to give an impression of street light. If you are interested to create an impression of street light, then you can use this area light. Now here I'm going to use the default point light here, which is already selected. Okay, let's change the color. So I'm going to change the color of this light. So if I go to this color, and let me change this color to red, close, and let's change the intensity here. So I'm going to increase the intensity, and you can see in the scene view as well as in the game window, the intensity of this point light is increasing here. You may see a different color here because the green and the red, when both are combined together, you will get this yellow kind of color, which is okay right now. So I've just changed the intensity, and I've just changed the color of this game of this component actually. And see, I have attached this light to the cube game object. Now what we will do, using the script, we will enable and disable this light component. Well, if you are interested to disable this light component in the inspector window, you can click on this checkbox. If you untick this one, see the light component is disabled. Similarly, if you click here, if you click on this check mark, so this will enable the light component over here. As you can see, the light component is enabled right now. So Similarly, we will be programming in our script to enable and disable this light component. So you remember we created the cube script in our last video sessions. So I'm going to open the same cube game object and I'll be making some changes in the cube game object. Let me open the C# script here. So this is the cube script over here. Let's add some variables to access the light components. So I'm going to add here private light, and I'm gonna call it here light component, light comp, and with semicolon. So I have declared one light component, but we need to initialize this light component. By default it is not initialized, so we will get this component. As the light component is already attached to the cube, that's why we will be getting access to this component. So we will go to the start menu, the start function, sorry. So here get access to, or in other words we can say initialize the light component object. So how to initialize this light component? It's very simple. Simply you can type here light comp is equal to, sorry, you need to make this one small because the first letter of this light is small. Light comp, let me copy this one in order to avoid any problem. So just copy and paste over here, is equal to get component. You are very much familiar with this get component function. We have used it in our previous video sessions also. So add light component and insert these two parentheses here in the end and with semicolon. So this way we will initialize this light component here. Once it is initialized, now we can get down to update function and we can update this function over here. Now the action or the kind of behavior which I'm going to perform here in this session, when we press the space bar key, it should enable or disable the light component here. So it is going to work like a toggle function. So when you press the space bar key, if the light is disabled, it is going to enable the light. If I press again the space bar key and the light is disabled, it is going to enable the light. So here what we will use an if condition, if input dot get key down, and this time I'm going to use the space bar. So what we will do, key code dot space. So which key we are going to press? If we are pressing the space key, open and close curly brackets, so block of statements we will write inside the if condition here. So what we want, get that light component and enable or disable this light component. So how to enable and disable this light component? We can, and we are going to make a toggle also, toggle enable / disable the light component. So what we will do, simply light component, light comp is equal to, this one is a not operator which will turn true into false and false into true, is light comp dot enabled. Let me see why I'm not getting access to. Let me just copy this one, Control C, Control V, and Control V here as well, dot enabled. And we need to attach, we need to insert here dot enabled also. So now let me discuss with you how it is going to work. It will check light component dot enabled. If it is true, it is gonna make it false and the light will be turned off or will be disabled. And if it is false, then this not operator will change it to true and the light is going to be enabled over here. Let me save my script, head back to Unity now, and by default if you see the light is enabled, and we are going to run this game, and when we press the spacebar key when the game is running, we will see the effect here. So I'm going to run this game right now. Click on this play button to play this game. My game is in play mode now. Now if I press the space bar key, look at this, the light is disabled now. And you can observe it over here also in the inspector window. Now if I press again the space bar key, the light will be enabled again. So let me click here in the game window and press the space bar key. Look at this, the light is enabled again. So press the space bar key, light is disabled, press it again, the light is enabled now. So through script, at any point of time, you can enable and disable different components of a particular game object. Let me stop it here. And now, let's suppose we want to enable and disable this game object. We want to show and hide the cube game object. If you see, the cube is the main or the parent game object here. So if you want to show or hide this game object, one way is you can go to the inspector window and you can untick this. See, once this in the inspector window, when you untick this cube game object, it will become invisible. And if you press it again, it is going to become active or enabled, or it will become visible. Now we want to make it active, or we want to activate or deactivate this game object. How can we do this? Let's go back to Unity, and this time what we want to do, we want to activate and deactivate this cube game object. So what we can do, I'm doing the same thing. So okay, whenever we press the space bar key, this time we want to activate and deactivate the cube game object. Simply we can type here game object dot set active to true or to false. This time what I'm gonna do, when we press the space bar key, so the game object which is cube, it is going to be deactivated. So let me just save it. And remember, I've just commented my previous code here. So what it is going to do, it is when we press the space bar key, it is going to deactivate, or it is going to disable the cube game object, and you will not see in the game window. If I play this game right now, and when we press the space bar key, let's see the behavior of this code. So my game is running right now. If I press the space bar key, look at this. At runtime, we have just disabled this game object. Now, if I go back to inspector window and if I check this box again, it will be enabled again. So remember, here, the important point which I want to discuss with you, let's suppose your game object has a parent-child relationship. Inside the cube, you have some objects, and those objects are children of cube game object. Now, if the parent game object is deactivated, and through the coding, if you are interested to make changes, if you are interested to enable and disable different components, it is not going to work. So remember, if the parent game object is active, then you can make changes in the child game object components also. But if parent game object is deactivated, then you cannot access, or you cannot change, or those changes will not be reflected whenever you change the component of any child game object. So this is very important point. So you can tweak all these changes, and you can also, it's just a challenge for you, that how you will make the change in the code so that when we press the spacebar key, it should work as a toggle button. So it should enable and disable, or it should activate and deactivate the cube game object. So try this one. I'll see you in the next video.